tonight, the Double Eagle. Here's a roar of the crowd.
Well, everybody's so tired from this weekend.
I don't know why I am. I know I am. I stopped by Adams Central and sat in with you guys for a minute, and you're like, you want to do a match? No, not really. I'm tired. I'm spent. I mean, all day Friday was plenty. I think the drive home Friday in the snow was just as tiring as anything else.
Well, it certainly took up a lot of my attention and energy just to get home safely. Kudos, though, to Robert Falkins, who made it both to Rochester and to Alexandria. Now, he said that he did the Modern Day Holiday Classic and the Al Smith when we interviewed him in December. So he's putting mileage on that company car.
Yeah, he's probably like our buddy Ed. He's got a company card.
I think so, too. And I did notice, those of you who are Indiana Matt fans, there is a gentleman there on the message board who went to all four yesterday.
Really?
And he's kind of chronicling and journaling. He also did, I believe, the Holiday Classic, Crawfordsville, and the Al Smith in a loop. And very interesting. His, when you go to tournaments like that and you make your observations and you just watch without any predetermined plan, it's a lot of fun. So check that thread out on the high school wrestling side of things on Indiana Matt, and kudos to him for making that effort.
Now, you and I were at Alexandria and Rochester. The other one was Goshen, and where's the fourth one down south?
I forget if Mooresville hosted it or
I think it was
I really
Mooresville.
didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the others because I was trying to keep track of what was going on at your site and what was going on at our site. It was a really fun day, honestly, and we'll talk about that more later on. We'll stay girls focused here for the second half of the show. Right now, though, we're going to talk a little bit more about Team State. You were at 2A. I was at 1A. We kept our eye on 3A and 4A, of course, and it seems like it, for the most part, went off without a hitch. Of course, like it happens every year now, it seems, the number one seed in 3A gets upset in the quarterfinals. I don't know what it is about that tournament, but that does seem to be the way it goes. But I also think that we can all point out that every time that the seeds get upset in 3A, I think it speaks more to the fact that 3A was needed. That's a group of teams who are really competitive, who really want to compete in the tournament with each other, and throw them in a hat, pick one out. You get a winner one week, do it again the next week, you might get a different winner.
I thought that your seed in 2A was on the ropes in the first round, or second round, when Garrett wrestled Indianapolis Bishop Chittard. Chittard has them down 21-22 to nothing, and Garrett storms back and scores 49 unanswered. And I'm like, wow, that was a strong showing.
Yeah, we were watching that one on Track Wrestling, and we're getting a little bit nervous. At 1A, we had the four unseeded teams, right, taking on 5, 6, 7, and 8. Northfield was the only of the seeded teams 5 through 8 that actually won their match, and that showed you just how difficult it was, how competitive it was. I think 5 through 12. South Adams comes in as the 5 seed with that win over Rossville. They lose Isaiah Meyer. They end up 12th in that tournament, but they won 7 matches in the first round. They won 7 matches in the third round, and they went 8-6, 6-8, I guess, in the second round. Ultra competitive, but I do think that we did a good enough job at 1A. We separated the top 4 teams, and what a set of duels we had at 1A. Those were definitely the top 4, and I feel like the same can be said at 2A and 4A. And I don't know, there's just something different about 3A. Those 3A schools are just big enough that they're competitive. They've got backups. They've got a deeper roster, and they just seem to be that much more crunched together than the other classes.
I can tell you that 2A on the 4 semifinal matches seemed like they were really balanced. I know that the match between New Prairie and Delta to put them in the finals was very, very close. I mean, that was back and forth. It was a 2-point match going in the last match. So whoever wins the match wins the match. And it was right down to the wire. And I think that New Prairie had a little bit better wrestler in that final match. It just ended up right. But, you know, the Belmont-Garrett match was really close for a while. And then they kind of pulled away at the end. But I thought there was just really competitive wrestling. I think Garrett wrestled above everybody else throughout the day. I just think they have more horses.
Yeah, and I think you look at these tournaments, you look at the brackets, you look at how they go, and you realize that a lot of what happens is determined by on what day they wrestle, and just the way the brackets go. If Delta would have wrestled with Jensen Boyd prior to Christmas, they might have been 2A team state champions.
Yeah.
If they wrestled 2 weeks from now, they might be 2A team state champions. New Prairie, they were still hoping to get James Hartleroad in, and his, apparently was denied, and he wasn't wrestling. But man, throw the number 1 ranked heavyweight in the state in for them at heavyweight, they're probably your state champions.
No, it started off the Chittard-Garrett match pretty interesting, as they started at 150, and Carter Fielden wrestled.
I saw Fielden went up to 150.
Yeah, to Sombrano, I think. Is that his name?
I don't know.
Something like that. But it was overtime, went overtime, and he gives up a takedown on OT and gets beat. So, I mean, he got knocked off, and that was the first match. And then Chittard had some momentum, and they really ran through the first 4 matches. And like I said, 21-0 before Garrett's even on the board.
Yeah, and that coaching staff at Chittard's done a really nice job of taking what was, honestly, I feel like 10, 15 years ago, and maybe I'm off on this and I'm just going off the top of my head, but not that great of a program that had, I mean, every once in a while I think they'd have a good individual, but definitely not a dual team. But they've really embraced Team State. They hosted that sort of, make your case tournament in mid-December just before the vote in, and invited teams that wanted to make their case that they deserved to be voted in. And Coach Spangel's done a really nice job there. And that's a team that, you look at now as we look forward to qualifying for next year, could be really dangerous in 2A going forward.
One other thing that I have to put out there is the hospitality that some of these local teams showed for some of these teams had a long way to go. I know that Switz County came up and worked out at Belmont just the night before, and Mount Vernon Posey came up and worked out at Jay County and put some time in there. And all of those guys said, we're not going to get snowed out of Team State. And they just made the effort to come up. I don't know if they came up Thursday night or they came in Friday morning, but they made sure they were here in plenty of time to work. And some of them didn't fare very well in their tournaments, but they were there to make sure that they
lived up to their was the point that just popped into my mind. I think those teams are walking out thinking, what a great weekend.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that, Mount Vernon didn't wrestle very well against Belmont at all. Switzerland County ended up in that 9th or 11th place match, that kind of thing. So, but I think they still enjoyed it. So we come back from the break. We're going to talk to Greg Ratliff from the Coaches Association about how the other sites went. But, it was a lot of fun, and we'll be right back after this.
You don't always need an attorney, but when you do, the man to call is Brad Weber. Brad has extensive experience in most legal matters and will help you make your problems disappear. Keep this number handy, 452-7045. That's 452-7045. You just never know when you'll need the services of an experienced litigator like Brad Weber.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Welcome back once again to the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted once again by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. And we're joined on the phone now by our good friend Greg Ratliff. How you doing on a Sunday night, Coach?
Hey, just trying to relax. It's been a lot going on in the last 2 weeks, really. So, doing great. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing great. Rex was at 2A, I was at 1A, and I know you and I were sweating it out this week as we read the weather forecasts and watched the maps. And I know Friday was a pretty tense day for you, just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping that nobody backed out because of the weather. But we survived it, and it was a great weekend.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time the weather has really played, as strong of a factor as it has. And, I think it shows really, some teams were able to, I talked to a couple of teams and they left on Friday morning before the snow hit. And, it shows the importance and the dedication that the people are trying to, be involved in this tournament just to make sure they show up and do the right thing. So.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was a lot of good sportsmanship, a lot of teams really trying hard despite the fact that maybe they dropped below where they wanted to place in the beginning. And I didn't see a whole lot of shenanigans or forfeits or any foul play, and it sounded like it went off without a hitch at all four sites.
Yeah, it was great. I think the wrestling was great, and I was actually, I coach a team as well, and I tried to fulfill multiple obligations as all of us wrestling coaches do at the same time. And I, in between bouts at our individual tournament for our JV that I was at, I was just glued to Flow Wrestling watching, different matches. And I think, I heard more than once, "Hey coach, you're up now." And so, it was just entertaining wrestling all day.
So going forward, we got a lot of coaches who listen to the show, not only live, but on the podcast later in the week. What's the status for next year? What's the process? If there's a coach out there who's like, "Man, I wish we would have gotten in this year," what do they need to be watching out for as far as entries, injury reports, all of those type of things?
I think it's important. I think as we've been on the committee to pick teams, the first thing is to automatically qualify. So how you do in your postseason tournament really plays the biggest weight. But we did the most vote-ins we ever did this year. We did 4 in every class, but the 4A we did 2. And I think we tried to reward those people that beat people that were in the field or went out and sought competition. And so I don't know, exactly how who's going to be good, but there's a lot of familiar faces that are trying to get into this tournament. And I think that's kind of been the biggest thing is, hey, wrestle each other so we can see who's good.
Coach Dane and I have noticed over the last couple of seasons that coaches have went out and altered their schedule to wrestle teams that will be combatants of theirs in the next tournament coming up, so they see that who they would be asked, so that you guys could get some matches versus each other. And it's interesting that they actually go out and alter their schedule to put it around team state.
Well, I think that really the schedule shouldn't be year to year. You should be trying to find the right competition for your team, right? And for what's best for you each individual year, and going out and seeking those opponents and being able to prove that this is who you think you are. It's really important to do as a coach, and I think it's a great change to the sport, honestly.
Now, going forward, is there anything that you have as far as changes planned, or is it basically the same thing for next year? And then what are sort of some of the deadlines here as we get into the postseason here in the next couple weeks?
So it's really the next kind of step for us is I try and get a hold of the coaches that were in the tournament. And, hey, what did you, and the people hosting the tournament and say, hey, what do you think was right or wrong, or what's a change we can make, and what's something we did well and something we can improve on it. And really, that's kind of going to be the next question going forward, is meeting with those people and trying to get the information so we can go ahead and start making those changes. I think at this point last year, we'd already decided to start voting in 4. And there's no clear new change on the horizon at this point. I think we made some little changes to the round order, in some of those placement matches that I think helped in 4A, wrestling the 7th and 8th earlier. But right now, there's no imminent changes coming.
Coach, did you hear from anybody that thought that they may or may not host a tournament next year that hosted this year?
So no, at this, we're just 24 hours removed or 36 hours removed, but I haven't heard anything. And I think the people, everyone, Adams Central is their first time hosting, but Franklin has become a staple of hosting this, and Brownsburg has now hosted this several years in a row, and I think Jay County's on their second year, and having the familiarity with those. With those schools really just makes it feel like, hey, that's one less thing to worry about. Those guys know how to run it. They know what they're doing. And it really takes a little bit off of our plate just the fact that they've already done it before. So I have not heard anything at this point. So hopefully we get to keep those schools where they are, or those tournaments where they are.
And what would the process be for?
What did you guys think? How was it for you guys up there in 1A and 2A?
I can say I was at Rochester on Friday, and it kind of brought back bad memories for me because it was so packed there last year for 1A, and it was really, really packed for the start of the girls' regional. Now, once some girls got eliminated and some people left, with the weather imminent, it was fine the rest of the day. But I felt like Adams Central had so much more room. The gym was open. They saved the finals for the end. They moved one of the mats out of the way. They brought in a ton of bleachers over in their auxiliary gym. It kind of brought back memories of Westfield, like way back original first couple of years. But honestly, there was a lot more seating over there in that auxiliary gym than what I even remember at Westfield. So I feel like they did a great job with the weather the way it was. It was difficult for some fans, but at the same time, it all kind of depends on the degree that your program wants to take this tournament seriously. And we saw it with Tell City. Tell City, I don't know if they would have brought more fans if the tournament would have been in Evansville. Like, everybody who they wanted there was there, it felt like.
Right.
Well, I know.
I think from really the 1A and the 2A, and even the 3A has been really good, but the 1A and the 2A, those fans pack the gym, and it's always been good to see how much they come out for their team, and I think we've talked about this in the past, but this is an opportunity for them to do a little bit to get some more recognition than they might in the individual state tournament. So those fans come out really well for 1A and 2A.
I was at 2A, and I would go to Jay County for like 4 tournaments throughout the season with sectional and regional, and they run a lot of tournaments. They run a lot of young kids tournaments. They run a lot of other freestyle tournaments. So they run tournaments all the time. So it's like second nature to them. James Myers and his crew there ran it, and their only complaint is they wish they would have been wrestling in it, which how they get in that's. But they need to change that. But I didn't make it over the auxiliary gym, but I didn't hear any complaints about people over there. They have a pretty good-sized gym that they put the extra consolation matches in over there, and it went well. Their gymnasium is very big, so if they keep everybody off the floor and put all the fans up in the upper bleachers, there was plenty of room. And there's people that go to a lot of tournaments there. They just know where they want to sit, and there's not a bad seat in the house when you're watching the 4 mats for the championship round.
Sure. Jay County they're just a wrestling program. They do such a good job. Coach Myers, I really, have appreciated him over the years. And, obviously we want them wrestling in it, but what dedication to be on the bubble, not get in, and then still host the tournament without a complaint. They do. I know they do a great job.
So to recap, of course, if you are a head coach or if you're an assistant coach or involved in a program, look at those qualifying rules for how you get an automatic qualification. Think about your lineup when it comes to sectional. And I know some people may be listening thinking, are you really going to change anything? It's not necessarily that you're changing anything, but maybe that's the motivation. Maybe that's the motivation for a kid who's struggling. That kid who's 3 and 17, right, who's thinking about quitting or why am I even wrestling? Well, because those team points make a difference. There's a difference between you, the sectional 5th placer, over a forfeit, and that's the way the system works. And so you've got to get as many team points as possible. There's some teams in that 1A tournament who showed up and competed with forfeits, but they know they've got to fill as many weight classes as possible so that they can get in position to automatically qualify.
I think over the years, as we've gotten these, almost every year a coach will say to us, in their quest to get in, an at-large bid, there's always like, well, my kid got 6th at sectionals. If he had just gotten 5th, we would have already been in. And so wrestling in those placement matches at sectionals is really important.
And of course, there's also some injury reporting that can be done, especially if you have an established, experienced wrestler who suffers an injury that has a track record. we certainly know from looking at the 1A tournament this weekend, we kind of had a list, an idea of the guys who are semi-state ranked, the guys who are semi-state qualifiers, and when you line up teams and this team's got 7 guys who are semi-state quality guys, it makes a big difference. So if you're a head coach out there of a program, make sure that you're on the ball, that you're watching Indiana Mat for communication, that you check your email when it comes to the Coaches Association so that, you can maximize your potential for next year.
Hey, I think, along those lines, you're talking about things that make a difference. And I think, it's sort of been a discussion with you and I also, but man, keep those results on Indiana Mat, or in track wrestling. And it feels like, we've had a couple of years. I used to, come home on a Saturday night and click on every bracket imaginable and find every dual meet, imaginable, and just to see all these results. And it seems like sometimes they're, maybe in the last couple of years, it's been getting harder and harder to find. So, get your information, out there. I know I always consider it part of growing the sport, but, or growing your program maybe. So
yeah, it certainly was more difficult this year finding results, and there were a lot of dual meets that just had team scores and didn't have those individual results, and a lot of complaining online, not directly to anybody at the Coaches Association or the committee, but complaining about the seeds. And it's like, well, how are we supposed to know who was out? And did the kid who was out, did you win that weight anyways, or did you lose that weight? Those are the kinds of things that the committee's looking for, and when you don't post your results, it makes it difficult.
Sure. And we just love to hear about your teams and see what they're doing.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point. So, well, Greg, a great job again on this year's tournament. I know it was a stressful weekend for you, but I really appreciate all that you do, and I'm sure that next year's team state will be even better than this year's.
Hey, well, thank you for all your help, man. It's my favorite weekend of the year, honestly.
Have a good one, Coach.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Take care. That was Coach Greg Ratliff. Lives in Ohio now, right?
He's over in Ohio.
Yeah.
Former Franklin Grizzly Cub, former head coach of the Edgewood Mustangs, but now just a volunteer, not even in his home state. What
a deal. Well, with that, let's send it back to studio. Steve Rouse running the board for us back after a couple commercials. And Dane's kind of running on fumes here today. He doesn't have a schedule like we usually do, so I don't even know what we're doing next. But we're going to send him for a commercial and come back, and we'll just BS our way through the next segment of the show.
DDD Maintenance and Repair, owned and operated by Shane Reynolds, has your local professionals for heavy-duty truck and diesel engine repair. DDD Maintenance and Repair also offers full-service sand and glass blasting for your surface restoration projects. Whether it's getting your heavy-duty truck and diesel engine running like new or sandblasting your project to look like new, we have a blast renewing the past. Give Shane and the guys a call at 260-223-5442. That's DDD Maintenance and Repair.
Shop local. It's a phrase we hear all the time, but for the staff and family at Package Liquors, it means something extra. Package, with locations in Decatur, Monroe, Berne, and Markle, is a local family-owned business that has been serving local communities for decades. We take your support and patronage and return it by supporting local athletes on WZBD and donating to different organizations across Adams County. The next time you're deciding where to shop, shop local. Shop at Package. It's where your friends shop.
30 seconds. Welcome back to the Hager Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted once again by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. And it's a long night. It's a long day, Dane.
Oh, it does feel weird to have to time your commercials after. I know I looked at my 2 YouTube broadcasts from this weekend, and I logged 15 hours on YouTube. Now, some of that was smooth jazz in between, but there was a long time of being on the air and a lot of talking, a lot of broadcasting. Of course, Friday was solo, so it was a little bit different. But we are going to be joined by one championship head coach, and that is the head coach of the Roncalli Royals, Mr. Shaun Richardson. We're going to dial him up right now.
Hello.
Hey, is this the head coach of the 3A Team State Champs, Roncalli Royals?
Yes, sir.
Rex Brewer, along with Dane Fuelling, and Coach, congratulations on your 3A championship. And everybody knows that 3A is such a dogfight down there. And I'm certain that you're pretty proud and pretty boastful about the fact that you guys came out on top of that tournament.
Yeah, for sure. Super exciting, man.
Well, tell us a little bit about how the day went, and tell us how Franklin did as a host and who wrestled really well for you.
Yeah, Franklin does a good job. I mean, they host so many things, so they do a good job. Pretty tight quarters, a lot of people around the mat, so it's pretty pretty exciting. I got let's just say a tough fan base, so they get pretty into the matches. But yeah, we started off against New Haven, and just looking at their lineup, I thought we had a good chance. I thought we matched up pretty well with them, but I mean, I knew there was going to be some good matches. We started at 57, and 30 seconds into the first match, Jackson McCurdy, my 57-pounder, he's solid for us. I mean, he's done really well all year. Guy gets in on a shot. He goes to sprawl and whizzer and just lands on his arm wrong, breaks his arm.
Ooh.
So, man, it's really tough. I mean, we didn't know it was broken at first. I thought, man, hopefully it's not that serious. But he went and got an X-ray, and it was broke. So we kind of lost our 57-pounder, 30 seconds into the first match. So that was going to make it even tougher. But yeah, we won a lot of the toss-ups against New Haven. I mean, we lost a few matches, but I think the final score was something like 60-12. So we kind of held our own against them. But we knew Columbus East was probably going to be the toughest.
Well, it probably didn't hurt your feelings any that the defending state champion and Ethan Doster was not in the lineup against you, right?
No, he was not. But I will say their backup was solid. I was like, wow, this guy isn't normally their 57 or 50-pounder. He was really good. So, but yeah, moving on. I mean, yeah, that kind of made it a little bit easier there in the middle. But going to Columbus East, we knew we were going to be in for it there.
Yeah, 36-33, you beat Columbus East. Who stepped into the varsity lineup for you then after the broken bone? Yeah,
it was kind of. It's very difficult to win a dual meet and not win at least 7 matches, and we somehow did that. We had 6 wins, 6 falls, so pretty amazing. We had, and I give a lot of credit to our other guys, guys that kind of held their own and didn't give up big bonus points. I mean, that was huge. But yeah, we had 6 wins against them, and we had 6 pins.
But I think that's the beauty of this event, and it's preserved it after the IHSWCA abandoned and sort of said goodbye to the dual meet being important, is you're able to say to those kids, look, it's not about winning or losing. It's about being a part of the team and preserving those team points. And there's so many storylines that go into a third period when you're down 6 points or down 5 points. And it all evens out because those last 2 minutes are just as important as the first 2 minutes of the next bout.
Oh, for sure. And it kind of Columbus East did a good job because they had a couple times where they were down and came back and beat us. We lost our first match against them at 165. And I really expected that we would definitely win that match. Our state qualifier, James Dozier, he had a good lead. And with the way the scoring is now, I mean, a 6-7 point lead is not safe at all. So he had, I think their guy is Clayton Miller. He came back and beat our guy. Kind of got the momentum going for them at the beginning of the duel. But a lot of our kids, even our 215-pounder, did a really good job just giving up a decision. So we kind of got to the heavyweight. That's when we went on a big run there because we won, I think, 5 in a row going in. From heavyweight all the way to 126. We got pins.
So we talk about the new scoring system, and like you said, there's really not a lot of matches that you're not out of because if you're down 3 points and 10 seconds to go, you can tie that thing up. I mean, we've seen guys that matches tied, with 15 seconds to go, and they give up a takedown near fall and they get beat by 7 points. You look at it and say, well, that match wasn't even close. Well, no, it was really close until 10 seconds left to go, and the scores are not reflective of what the matches are ending up as. And as you always know, those guys, if they get, they're down 6-7 points, and all of a sudden they get into a rhythm, they get a takedown, they instantly cut a guy and get their takedown. I mean, they climb right back into it, and then it makes things really interesting.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you're right on. I mean, and part of me, I mean, I like it and I kind of don't, but I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe because it's a little bit different, but yeah, you're never out of it. I mean, it used to be tough to come back. I mean, you give up 5 points if you mess up and you end up on your back, and you give up 5, 2 and a 3 near fall, and you kind of feel like you can't dig your way out. But I feel like you're just never out of it now.
Well, go into the championship match then. I'm looking at the box score right now. You guys win 6 in a row in the middle, and then are able to hang on, and you split 7-7 with Hobart, who had a great win over Lowell earlier in the tournament. You win at 38-34. Tell us a little bit about who was the hero there.
The hero in that match was definitely 126 Gavin. 120 and 126, because Blake Getz did a great job. He had a major at 120 against their really good 120 pounder. But then Gavin was wrestling, Gavin Kemp at 126 was wrestling Seth Alban, who had beaten him earlier in the preseason open. And he just came out firing. He threw him to his back and then threw him to his back again, and ended up getting a pin in the first period. And so that got everybody jacked. And so that was super exciting. It was a huge win. And just, then I felt like we were in great shape. We got another pin we had a major at 32, and then another pin at 38. And then our senior Plahitko, who kind of sealed the deal against Columbus East, he was rolling through on a tilt and gets hit with a defensive fall. So that kind of made things a little more interesting. So it was definitely action packed.
Well, Coach, as you rest on your win from 2A, from 3A, now I had the Alexandria Monroe girls tournament, and Roncalli had some really solid girls in there. How are you looking forward to this girls state tournament down in Indianapolis this coming Friday?
Yeah, super excited. We have 2 girls that are gonna make the trip. Claire May at 100, she was the regional champ, and then Olivia Lemus at 120. She's gonna have a rush. She's got a tough first round, but we're super excited. I'm excited that we're gonna have a nice venue. It's gonna be super cool. I haven't actually been to that Fairground Coliseum. I haven't been since it's been renovated, but it's gonna be nice.
Well, Coach, one last question. I know we like to ask coaches, especially on this version of the show throughout the years. Now that you've won a state title, what does that look like for your program? How do you celebrate? How do you remember? Rings, T-shirts, parades, all of those types of things. Tell us a little bit about what Roncalli has planned.
Yeah, we'll definitely do the rings, but it's a huge program builder. I mean, it's so exciting for everybody. But yeah, and our school does a really good job of supporting athletics and things. So I'm sure we'll do something cool at the school as well. But yeah, I don't know that we'll make an additional T-shirt because we'll have. We love making some T-shirts at Roncalli though. So who knows?
Well, Rex and I never turned down a T-shirt. We're just saying that, okay?
I got you.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the victory, and we wish you the best of luck the rest of the season, and hopefully we see you on Friday.
For sure. We'll see you.
That was Coach of the Roncalli Royals. As we draw closer to the end of this segment after that interview, so let's send it back to studio to Steve Rouse, running the board for us here on a Sunday night, and back with more wrestling talk right after this on WZBD.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home is honored to serve the community we love and live in. Locally owned and operated by Ryan Hershey and Eric Zelt, we understand that each family we serve and each life lived tells a unique story. Our goal is to offer comfort, care, and dignity to all who entrust their loved ones to our care. We are proud to call Adams County our home and look forward to serving you for generations to come.
Welcome back once again to the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill for another episode of the Hager Hershey-Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly. And as always, once again, Double Eagle, great place for food and drinks. Tonight I went with the wing special. Dane's aunt went with the homemade egg rolls and thumbs up. She gives the big thumbs up.
And back-to-back nights with the handmade double cheeseburger for me, and it was great. Tots a little bit crispier tonight than last night, and I liked them even better tonight. So
I'm trying to low carb, so I'm staying away from the tots. So
you've just about got the special menu memorized.
Of
but
course.
Every day of the week it's something different, and they had a great crowd for Singo on last night on Saturday night, and Josh Gaskell and I were here. We brought our wives, and Nathan brought his sister, and it was a lot of fun.
I always just pull up their Facebook page and look and go, what's the special tonight? But you sent me that picture and said there's going on, and I just sat down on a lazy boy, and I was like, I could go over there and hang out, but I was like, I am beat. 2 days in a row of running the broadcast, which people think, oh, they're just talking. Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that the old Danester and Rex are putting themselves through as on those days. And there's times when you just need to step away, and we play a little smooth jazz. But it's interesting. One of the grandpas, one of the Belmont guys, is there, and he goes, "No, are you going to be on YouTube all day today?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Except for when you're playing that music." I said, "Yeah, if we have to go to the bathroom, we're going to get something to eat." I said, "We're going to be playing some smooth jazz and music."
We had some barbecue pulled pork sandwiches yesterday, and Roger Griffith was picking on you. He says, "You send a picture of that plate you got there. You send it to Rex and see if his meal is better."
And I told you what we had. I think I won.
I don't know.
Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and gravy? Yeah.
It was awfully good. We're going to pull up the state finals brackets.
For the girls?
Yeah, I'm spinning here.
Okay, we're not going to talk about regional?
I thought I had. Well, I was going to do it through the lens of our regional, but we can talk about
you keep the state one up, and I'll keep the
well, right now
one.
I'm spinning in all. Oh, I'm on Verizon. No wonder.
I'm on Double Eagle. I run my information computer on the Double Eagle. Jason gave me the password.
It's coming. It's going.
Super secret.
It's going. Okay, girls' state finals brackets. We'll take a look at those right now if we can get enough internet here for it to work, and we'll pull up the state rankings as well. These just came out here in the last couple of hours. See if I can get everything lined up here. We got a lot of spinning, Rex. They're slowly getting there.
I tell you what, running off hardline at Jay County.
I know we really
379 megabyte download. I was kicking hind end.
As we wrap up our discussion of how Team State went, Adams Central did a great job. They invested money in their infrastructure to be able to host that tournament. And I don't know if a lot of people will realize that, will think about that, but it did make a big difference for us because we didn't have to worry about our internet connection. We didn't have to worry about our hotspots. We were linked up directly, and it made a big difference in our broadcast day.
That just means that the rest of our broadcast crews have to invest in a Ethernet cable. And for these old laptops, you need that Ethernet cable to USB adapter because the Lenovo's do not have a Ethernet jack in the side of them, so you need to have the adapter.
Yeah, so my champ at 100 pounds was Shelby Lightgable from Riverton Park. And it was kind of funny because, those are some schools that we're not really all that familiar with. That regional that I was at extended all the way to Terre Haute North, Terre Haute South, Fountain Central, all the way over to the Illinois state line.
Well, they split the state up different. They went horizontally.
Yeah,
so
they
kind of went down south of Indianapolis a little bit and took all that swath and took it down to Evansville. I had that middle strip, which included Indianapolis and Muncie and that kind of area, and then it went up to you had that Rochester that kind of took all that middle section, like the Fort Wayne level, and then Goshen was all the top quarter.
Now, I'm looking at this first bracket, the state finals, and Katie Rowles will actually potentially meet in the second round, Lightgable from Riverton Park. Now, Of course, this is different from this last weekend. I just had to switch it in my mind because I'm like, they're going to meet in the ticket round. Nope, this isn't the ticket round. This is the state finals. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to be set up the exact same as we're used to with the boys. First round losers are done, and second round winners or second round wrestlers then are wrestling for 1st through 8th, and it'll go through like it normally does.
Yeah, it's basically like the Friday night round is the
Correct.
first round. It's just they're having them all on one day. And my champion was Claire May from Roncalli, who is ranked number 2 in the state right now, and she was really solid.
Yeah, and like Gaby, I was surprised got past Sydney Stoller. Stoller from Tri-County was undefeated going into that. That was her only loss, and Stoller is down there. She would wrestle May in the second round. Of course, we'll have all of that coverage for you live on our YouTube channel all day throughout the day on Saturday. Let's flip over to 105.
My 105 state regional champion was a young lady that we know very well. We've interviewed her last year, Kenley Keffer of Daleville, and she's one of those girls that dedicated herself. She said she used to play other sports, and now she just wrestles full time. She said she went out and wrestled in the Nationals and took second in the nation this year, and she has stepped up her game that much. And I tell you what, you talk about aggressive wrestlers. She's just a spindly little thing at 105, but I tell you what, she was all over people running quarters and bars, and she was being very aggressive.
Now, you and I had 1 and 2 at 105 because I had Kendall Moe from Hamilton Heights. She was the champ. She had 3 first-period falls to reach the final, and then scored a fall in the final as well to win at 105 pounds. And that was a pretty deep weight class, I felt like, looking at the state rankings, getting a little bit of updates from Brandon Razzo as he was trying to go through and provide us some stuff. So as we look at that bracket, see Keffer and Moe are on opposite sides. So Kinley is 31 and I think you and I might both have a Daleville shirt somewhere from last year. Yeah. Kendall Moe on the opposite side then. Moe in the same quarter as Joanna Cantu from Hobart. And I'm looking at who else is on there. Caitlin Foudy, who I believe is ranked number 3, is on the same side as Moe. And that opens it up for Keffer on the other side. So once again, Daleville having some great success with Keffer.
You know, Keffer had 3 falls and a tech fall. She won her second round match 17-1. So
let's do 2 more weights here, and then we'll take a break. We're looking at the 110-pound brackets now. Your number 1 ranked wrestler in the state is Joy Cantu. Liz Dowdy is number 2. And there's a couple more state placers in there as well. Katie Epley from Mooresville got 5th last year, and Reese Kasprick was 8th last year. My champ at Rochester was Katie Furno, and she came from Clinton Prairie. And there's a lot of smaller schools over there, Rex, in that Lafayette area that you don't necessarily know by name. I know at Clinton Prairie wrestled, I think, Adams Central this year, but they've got good girls programs, and they've got numbers.
They had the 2 girls from West Vigo that were just studs a couple of years ago that were state champions. But my champion at Alexandria was Monica Alvarado, and she cruised her way through the finals. And she gets a fall in 5:41 over Hughes from Franklin, and I thought she was pretty solid, and they have her ranked number 6 right now. So
yeah, and Dowdy and Cantu, number 1 and number 2, are on opposite sides of the bracket. Now, my runner-up, I'd like to share this story with our listeners. Our runner-up was from Northside, Giselle Klein. We had a chance to interview her after she got her medal. Coach Hershey, who's been here the last couple of years for our media day with the coaches, I talked to him, trying to get the storyline right, and I say, so, is this something that you expect? Well, we thought she was pretty good. I said, yeah. Has she shown a lot of improvement? Well, she won 3 matches last year. I said, Coach, she won 3 matches last year? Yeah, she won 3 matches last year. She worked really hard. I'm saying, I patted him on the back. I'm like, good for you, man. She looked excellent. She had a nice little fan club there. She was very sweet in her interview and did a really good job and was very humble in the work that she had done. But I'll tell you what, I saw her wrestle some really good girls, and she made it all the way to the finals.
What do you show for Tatiana Willis, ranked number 11 from Jay County, who came through my what's her seed? What's her bracket look like?
Let's see.
She took 3rd.
Willis will wrestle Brooklyn Fuller from Whiteland, and Fuller is ranked number 4 in the state. So that's going to be a very tough first-round match. They're all the way down there at the bottom, and then the winner would take on potentially Furno, who was the regional champ there at Rochester. They're all on the same side as Joy Cantu, who is a senior, undefeated, 33-0. And that speaks a lot to where we are in girls wrestling, right? That she's got 33 matches.
Well, I talked to Coach Meyer afterwards. I mean, he had a great ticket round, puts all of his girls that were, in the winner's bracket all get wins, and then they get to semis, and they had some tough draws. He gets Mallory Winter through. The only one gets to the finals, and the other 4 that got beat come back in their consolation matches and just dominated for third place.
Now, Klein from Northside, she's a sophomore. She'll take on Annika Gradeless from Mishawaka. I think Mishawaka had 2 girls qualify. I saw on Steven's Facebook. She's 23-4, so that'll be another good matchup there. And we were talking about the coaching change at Western earlier this year. Coach Shepard's still coaching the girls.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped out of the boys to the girls, and he told me a couple years ago that he had a girls softball player come up to him and said, I want to wrestle, and he said, well, you need some people to work out with, and she said the whole softball team's coming out to wrestle.
Now we'll do one more weight class. Let's do 115 before we go for a break. And Isabel Ocampo was your champion. She's a defending state champion from last year's tournament. She comes through fall. She did go into the second period against Nicholas from Rossville, but there was no competition for her at that tournament.
I interviewed Haley Corporal, who was from Eastbrook, and she was our champion. And I asked her, I said, anybody you're looking towards wrestle next week? And she said, Ocampo. She said, I've wrestled her before, but Haley Corporal, she's 25-2, and I think both of her losses are to Isabel.
Yeah, and if you look at the rankings, it almost feels like they've cleared out away from her because there's only a couple of state placers in there, a couple of 8th placers. I don't know if there's anybody who's made the semifinals before. So Ocampo, definitely a heavy favorite, and we're still working on her interview skills, but we're getting there.
Those girls don't like to talk. They like to wrestle, but they don't like to talk.
There's a couple of times where I asked her a question, and she just kind of smiled and grinned at me and didn't say anything. And I said, well, now's your time where you get to talk. So, hey, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to take a brief break from talking about girls because we're going to be joined by the head coach of the 2A state champs, the Garrett Railroaders.
Hello, this is Joel from your local hometown Package Liquors. Package Liquors provides the best selection of domestic, import, and craft beers in Zeeland. With locations in Decatur, Monroe, Bern, and Markle, you're always just a short drive away from picking up the perfect last-minute gift or just the right six-pack to watch the game with friends. You're never a stranger when you walk through the doors, and our smiling staff never has a problem giving you a recommendation when you're not sure what it is you need. Stop in at one of our 4 locations and see what hometown service looks like. Package Liquors. It's where your friends shop.
Does your smile need work? Maybe it's time for a cleaning and exam. Visit Laura Kugelhahn, DDS, and her knowledgeable, caring staff at Complete Smiles on North Main Street in Bluffton. Dr. Kugelhahn would love to help you maintain your dental health or transform your smile. Whatever your needs might be, Complete Smiles is there to help you. Dr. Kugelhahn is currently accepting new patients. Call 824-3100 to schedule an appointment.
Welcome back once again to the Hager Hershey-Zell High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Rex Brewer along with Dane Fuelling, and we are joined now by the coach of the 2A Team State Champions himself. It's Ye Daddy Nick Kraus. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you doing?
We're good.
Well, Coach, tell us a little bit. I know Rex was there, and I read up a little bit on how you did, but tell us how the Railroaders wrestled and how you celebrated a state title.
Well, overall, we wrestled really well. Obviously, came out on top. Celebrated by going to Coterie Pizza in Garrett, and a local friend of mine and friend of the program got pizza for all the coaches and their families. I'll admit, when the day started, I was a little nervous. We started really slow in our, I guess what would be second round, our first match. So I started thinking of the current CFP, and I'm like, man, I hope we're not cursed like all the bye teams were in the college football playoff.
Well, I told Dane, I said, I looked down there and it was 21-0, and I thought, wow, his rankings are not doing very well. And then you guys rattled off 49 points in a row and kind of sealed the deal. But I tell you what, that first match, with your number 2 ranked wrestler getting taken down in overtime, I mean, that kind of gave them a little bit of fire. And they come out, Chittard wrestled tough.
I told their Coach Spangle, actually, I'm like, later on in the day, not right after we'd wrestled, I saw him and I'm like, no matter what place you get, no matter what place we get, I'm just letting you know, your guys are well coached. They're extremely tough. I'm very impressed with you guys. Didn't know much about you, but kudos to what you're doing, Coach. So they were tough.
I tell you what, and then your other matches, most of your matches seemed like they were pretty close, and about halfway through the match, you guys just kind of put your foot down on the gas and took off and pulled away from people. You scored either 49 or 50 points in every one of your matches, and it seemed like you were just heads above the field on Saturday.
Well, I think some of it comes down to matchups. We had some flexibility between 65 and 75, and then 44 and 50. So we had the ability to move kids around, and we had studied other teams' lineups, and obviously hope that we would get, if we wanted evens, and that makes a big deal in dual meets. So that helped, and I think our kids were really excited about it.
So, Coach, one of the conversations that we had in the post-match yesterday at 1A is, as a coach now, how do you transition? How do you move on, turn the page, get your kids ready for the next phase, and don't suffer, I guess, from thinking too much about winning the state title and getting ready for your invite on Saturday?
Well, I feel like we kind of messed that up in 2018. We ended up getting second in the team state duels, but we pulled off a pretty big upset in the semis. And I remember everything had went well up until that point in the season. Even getting second, obviously that's not fun, but we lost 37-33 in the finals. We had a pretty good Al Smith for where we were at the time. And then we got to semi-state and state, and what could go wrong went wrong. We had the worst semi-state I think we've ever had since I was a coach. At state, we had a kid winning by 4 points on Friday night, blow a lead. So, what could go wrong went wrong, and we talked to these kids about we have a few Super Bowls throughout this year. This is one of them, and then when we get back to school on Monday, we reset. And I think back in 2021, we did a good job of resetting when we won it, so I think we'll do a good job here too, but probably definitely have a couple practices that are a little easier and it's more technique-based and not as much of a grind.
Well, Coach, before we let you go, we didn't just call you because you won yesterday. We also want to talk about your girls. Tell us who you've got still alive going into Friday.
Yeah, so Nevaeh Wilson won the 130-pound bracket. She wrestled outstanding. She had a stacked regional. It was 1, 2, and 3 in the state, all in the same regional. So in the semis, she beat the number 2 girl from Crown Point, and then in the finals, she beat the number 3 girl. And it was a tough grind-out finals match. And then Reagan Trenary ended up winning 155. She had a really good day, and she got a great draw. She's separated from the girls she's had problems with. So we're hoping we can get by these other girls and maybe meet her in the finals, and third time's a charm.
Don't you mean Turtle?
Yeah, Turtle. Yep.
Okay, just checking that. Now, Coach, I talked to some people, and they kind of surprised that WZBD covered the girls' regionals, and I said, if you have any ability to go to the girls' state, you need to go watch it. Now, the first round of regional, I thought there were some matches that were some girls that just really got dominated that were not contenders. But in the second, third, and final round, I saw some great wrestling. I saw some girls with grit. I saw girls with bloody noses and scratched up faces. And I tell you what, they were brawling. They were battling. And for these girls, I think in the last 2 years, exponentially, their skill level has just jumped up incredibly well. And I think in my interviews with girls after the tournament, it's like, what other sports do you play? I don't play other sports. I wrestle all year long. I went to Virginia Beach duels. I went to Disney. I went to Fargo. And these girls, they're putting in the time. They're putting in the work. And it's showing. And for people not to go out and support these girls and watch the caliber of wrestling that they have right now is incredible. Because if you look at the rankings in the nation, Indiana girls are just dominating all the way up through the ranks.
Absolutely. I know as far as Garrett goes, as soon as it became a sanctioned sport, our number jumped from 4 to 21 girls. We finished the season with 20 girls. We had a bunch of girls with winning records that kind of fell in love with the sport, and I would say our community fell in love with it. The first duel we had this year was at Northside, and we traveled pretty well. Like, the whole upper set of the bleachers was filled up with Garrett fans, and they've really, really gotten into it. We got a lot of people that support it. I think the girls feel that, and I think they see that, obviously the boys wrestling teams had some success here for a few years, and we got a nice following. I think the girls are following suit, and I think they think it's cool to be a part of something like that. And we got a lot more girls that are wanting to do off season and are doing those things you talked about, and now they're kind of bringing along the other girls that just started, and they're like, well, I want to do that too.
After our Homestead match the other night between Adams Central and Homestead, Dane ran down the 4 Homestead girls that qualified, and we interviewed them afterward, and they were all psyched up that they thought they were movie stars because they'd been on radio. And I asked the one girl, I said, do you do any other sports? And she goes, well, show choir, that's not really a sport. So you talk about your extremes from show choir to girls wrestling is about as far on the spectrum as you can get, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. We've got one of those, too. She doesn't do show choir, but she does Cyber Patriots and a lot of the academic teams. And I never took her for a wrestler, and she came out this year and did really well for her first year wrestling. So that was pretty awesome.
Well, Coach, we congratulate you on your 2A title, and I hope that you get a chance to maybe wrestle for an individual title on Friday. We will be there. We'll be covering all the Garrett girls, so make sure that you tell your fans that they can hear those matches if they're not in Indianapolis on our YouTube channel, WZBD.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Take care, Coach.
Take care, guys.
That's been Nick Kraus of the Garrett Railroaders and the fighting Yee Daddies and
Fighting Poppies.
Fighting Poppies. Everybody, if you're on Indiana Matt and you go on Guerrilla Radio, that's his name. His handle comes up, says Yee Daddy. So I'm on there listening to the guys BS about wrestling throughout the week, and Nick's always on there, and there's some good conversation back and forth. But it's always a good time. Those guys don't have a lot of structure like we do, except for tonight.
Well, let's talk about 120 here before we go to another break, since we brought in Nick. My champion at 120 was Aaliyah McLean from McCutcheon. She took out Zoe Pugh in what was a very interesting bout. The previous bouts, I think, were all falls, and McLean ended up winning 5-3. Pugh suffered, I think, her first loss of the season, but that's one that I think probably could be reversed if they met again. Looking at the rankings, Pugh was ranked number 3 and McLean was number 5. Just to give you an idea, Alexis Spalding from Columbia City was 3rd, and she's ranked 6th in the state. So that was a really deep weight class where I was. Looking at the bracket, it looks like Pugh is on the same side as Spalding. Michaela Perkins is the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state, and that would be her opponent in the second round. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the bracket is Brenna Rubel from Jay County, and McLean, the champion from McCutcheon, is down there. So Rubel will take on a freshman with 7 losses. Rubel herself is a freshman with 7 losses, so a very winnable match there for the Jay County freshman.
My champion and runner-up are not even ranked in the top 18.
Wow.
And Royale of Milan was the champion. She took out Montgomery beat Rubel, and then Montgomery ended up, Montgomery was defeated. But Rubel was really in the match. That match was close, and she got caught. She got caught and pinned. But I tell you what, she was upset for the fact that she was defeated, and she come back in the consolation round, and she was trailing in the match. She got taken down a couple times, and it was hanging her head. And she catches a girl in a cross-face cradle, and she's down to like 6 points and pins a girl. And I told her, I said, headlocks and cradles are the great equalizers you can come back from. And I tell you what, she's a feisty young lady, and she's one of those girls that Eric is really high on for a good freshman.
Well, that was our look at 120. We'll come back with 125 and subsequent brackets right after this.
Renowned around the Midwest for his skills and his creative abilities, Nate Bowers and the team at Bowers Paint Studio in Decatur work with a wide range of clients, from collision repair to custom paint jobs for classic cars and motorcycles. Located on Monroe Street on the west side of Decatur, Bowers is your place for body work too, whether it's getting your ride back on the road or finally getting that classic car the paint job you've always wanted. Stop by or give Nate a call to put the best in the business to work for you.
Wygand Construction in Fort Wayne is committed to providing quality, value-based construction services, and that commitment begins with our employees. We strive to anticipate and exceed clients' expectations, honor our commitments, and provide for the communities in which we live. If this sounds like the place where you'd like to work, visit our website at Wygand Construction to see our open positions and fill out an application. We want you on our team. Wygand Construction. Trust, well built.
Welcome back once again to the Hager-Hersey-Zell High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Sparse crowd out here tonight, but Aunt Becky's here. That's all that matters.
Aunt Bren.
Oh, I'm Bren.
You got your sisters wrong.
That's your mom. I'm sorry.
Hey, at 125 pounds, you're going to love watching McKenna McKee wrestle. McKee was a point scorer on Friday. She won in the finals 14-0. She won by tech fall in the semifinals and was just a scoring machine. Great on her feet, and someone that, we look here at the rankings. She's not in the top 6 or 7.
She's ninth.
She's. It looks like she's been pinned a couple times, but man, on her feet, if she can stay off her back, she looks like somebody who could be really dangerous, and certainly somebody who's going to be challenging for a medal.
She's been pinned by Centeni, and Centeni was the runner-up at Alexandria and runner-up to, let's see, get her name right here. She's from Warren Central. She's ranked number 2. Amaya Rusengunko Taylor.
And she
is a beast.
And she was in the finals last year. Does that sound right? She got beat last year in the finals, I think.
Let's see what she does. She's
she was second at 125 last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's awfully good. She'll take on Madison Waltz, who was Carroll's only state qualifier, I believe, in the first round. McKee will have Aaliyah Russell from Franklin Central, a freshman with 10 losses. A girl who had a great tournament. I'm not sure Blaine thought that she had a chance to be a state qualifier, was Faye Wythera, a freshman. Her record going into the state finals is 19-13. But she wrestled some great matches, and I was really impressed with her. When I was looking at who I was going to be following, I didn't even have her name written down.
Now, you know how sometimes you see those kids from Warren Central, and they're just jacked. I mean, just ripped and physically. That's the way this young lady is. But she is just such an athlete. She dominated girls just on her stamina and her physical abilities. It was just really tough.
So that's an exciting weight to look at as we go to 130 pounds. My champion was Lanessa Ocampo, and I congratulated her in our interview.
And she didn't talk either.
And I hope that I didn't offend her, but I told her, you've really gotten better. I wasn't trying to tell her that she was bad last year, but seeing her as a middle school wrestler, I didn't think that she was going to be up to snuff with her 2 older sisters of what I'd seen from them so far. But here she is as a regional champion and someone who looked very impressive. She scores a fall. She pins her way to a regional title, and she's going to be right there competing. Now let's take a look at who she drew.
Now, where's Nevaeh Wilson in that?
Nevaeh Wilson was up at the Goshen one, remember?
Oh, okay. That's the Garrett.
So she's 34-1. Wilson is
Wilson lost to Ocampo 7-6.
Okay, and Ocampo has Samara Swanigan from Lawrence Central in the first round, and so Julianne Cantu from Maryville is in the top bracket as well. Looking through here, Wilson down at the bottom. That weight. At 130, Wilson's number 1. Kylie Benoit from Crown Point is number 2. Benoit and Ocampo would meet in the second round in the quarterfinals on Friday.
My champion was Marty from Beech Grove, and she defeated Wagner in the finals. And Marty is ranked 13th in the state right now.
But you look at Ocampo's record so far this year, she's at 130. She was up at 135 earlier in the year. She's got losses to Vardaman. She's got losses to Naima Ghaffar. But, she's someone I think who could really surprise people and reach the finals. And I think that just speaks to the talent that New Haven has in their room the attitude that they have, the belief that those girls have that, maybe some of the boys might want to pick up on, and that is that you can get better over the course of a season. And I think sometimes some of the boys get in their head that all these other guys that are in front of them, they're too good, they're never going to catch them. And that may be true in some sense, but there's also a lot to be said about the mental side of things. Once you've decided that you don't have a chance to win, you're never going to beat anybody.
Now, my champion at 135 was the girl who's sandwiched between Naima Ghaffar and Katie Vardaman. Ranked number 2 is Kayla Johnson from Southport. She walked her way through the finals. She took on our good friend Lena Lingo from Jay County in the semis. And Lena even told me afterwards, she said, I think I just got too tied up in a moment. She said, I was too scared. She said, I could wrestle 1,000,000 times better next time. Because Lena come back and just dominated for third place and gets a fall.
Well, I remember Johnson's a former state champ. She won state, if I remember right, she won state back at Kokomo.
She's first at 13, second at 13, and fourth at 25.
Yeah, she won her freshman year as a 13-pounder at the Kokomo State Finals before we went down to Mooresville and then came back. So she's certainly capable of winning.
She just walked through. I mean, she pinned Lingo and just walked through every match, and I thought she was really impressive. She had a win in the finals in 1:08. She pinned Lingo in 1:08, and she pinned her second round match in 59 seconds, and she pins her other match in 55 seconds. So she's not into the second period in any match.
And that 135-pound weight class is so stacked, but the one thing that does jump out to me is that Naima Ghaffar and Katie Vardaman are on the same side, which opens it up with Kyla Johnson. But don't forget, you've also got a couple of three returning state semifinalists on the other half of the bracket. So you got some girls, once you've gotten that taste of making the finals, being a semifinalist, you believe in yourself. That's a really stacked weight class. I don't know if any of those girls wrestle each other in the very first.
Now, you and I can both agree that probably 3 years ago, we went to state finals and think you can see one girl in every weight class and think, okay, they're not going to have much competition. There's some of these weight classes that these girls are going to battle, and you're going to have defending state champions not make it to the finals.
Yeah, Charisma Lawrence is one of those girls. Charisma Lawrence has, I think, 3 losses on the year. She got pinned by Troutner, who we'll talk about in a little bit, and she's lost to Ghaffar twice by fall. But she is an excellent wrestler from Maryville. We'll see the Fighting Maldonados in action on Friday. And that's what I'm so excited about. We talk so much about how much we love going down to the state finals and seeing all of our friends and all the people that we know from around the state that we don't see any other time of the year. And now it's double. A lot of those guys are involved in the girls program too. And there's going to be Maldonados down there. There's going to be guys from Evansville. There's going to be guys from Indy that we haven't seen all year long.
And it's a whole new set of friends as well. I mean, the girls tournaments and stuff are kind of run by a separate group of people, and it's a different crowd, so to speak.
Yeah, so let's take a break here, and when we come back, we will touch on 40, 45, and 55. You're listening to High School Wrestling Weekly here on WZBD.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Renowned around the Midwest for his skills and his creative abilities, Nate Bowers and the team at Bowers Paint Studio in Decatur work with a wide range of clients, from collision repair to custom paint jobs for classic cars and motorcycles. Located on Monroe Street on the west side of Decatur, Bowers is your place for body work too, whether it's getting your ride back on the road or finally getting that classic car, the paint job you've always wanted. Stop by or give Nate a call to put the best in the business to work for you.
Once again, to the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill and Dane. Update, I talked to our T-shirt guy. My plan is to pick up all the shirts on Thursday night, so I will have our shirts before we go to the girls' state on Friday. If we do end up having our show on Sunday night, if you ordered shirts, you'll be able to pick them up at the Double Eagle on Sunday night. I'll have all those there. I ordered went over the top. My wife kind of gave me a hard time, but I ordered 39 pieces of swag, and more than half, almost half of them are mine.
I like it. Hey, we also want to give a shout out to our pals Lenny Razzo and to Brad Weber, big supporters of what we do on WZBD. And I don't know about you, but Saturday it was so hard to broadcast because there were so many people trying to text me, talking about the match, telling us we were doing a great job, asking when the next round was going to start and all of those types of things. And, as much work as it was and as sick as I feel right now, I do know that there were people out there who appreciated
See, that's
being
the
able
problem.
to listen.
You have too many people have your number. Not as many people
That's
have
true.
my number. The only people texting me is you and the judge.
And the judge didn't even bother to come down to see you. Did he?
He said he was, but I don't think he did. But, Landon Gint's always listening. And he sent me a thing. I called a new move called a limp chin. The kid limped his way out of a chin rip, so I called it a limp chin. And
I saw Landon. He was at Monroe.
Well, he was listening to me.
Oh, he was listening to you. Well, that makes sense. You wouldn't watch and listen to the same thing. Makes a lot of sense. Hey, let's go to 140 pounds. And you and I were talking off the air. You got a pair of state champions at the top here. Maddie Marsh is potentially going to be one of the best all-time in Indiana, we believe. Meanwhile, Ava Allen was a freshman state champ at 152. Then last year cut down a couple of weight classes and ended up losing in the finals. My champion was Aubrey Troutner, who also was in the finals last year as a freshman. Super, super talented. Talked to her.
And they are 1, 2, 3.
Gave her a hard time about her dad, and she laughed. I said, now, the real question that we all have is your dad going to wear that jacket again? And she giggled, and she said, oh, yeah, he thinks he may have one that's even better. So I talked to him and Andy during lunch and was giving him a hard time about it. But there's a guy who spent a lot of time with his daughter wrestling, taking her to different tournaments, and they are as serious as it comes when it comes to high school wrestling.
At my 140, Maddie Marsh wrestles a minute 16 for a fall. She 41-second fall over Emily Maynor. She wins in a 108 fall and in a championship against Myers from Franklin Central. She has a minute 16 pin.
Now, I don't want to go into too great a detail here, but Troutner didn't even wrestle in the championship bout because she took on Hannah Maggard from Columbia City. And I'll spare you some of the details, but Maggard wrestled the entire day with the old mask on. And apparently the reason she was wearing the mask was potentially what happened in the sectional championship bout. And they said, no, we're not interested. We've already reached the state finals. We're gonna sit this one out. So I think a little bit of a rivalry brewing there between those two. And you know what? That's the kind of stuff that I'm here for.
So something happened from Troutner that made her wear the mask.
I don't know. That's kind of the vibe that I was getting. But Hannah Maggard had a great match to make the finals. She looked really, really good, but she did not wrestle against Troutner in the finals. So she takes second place. Troutner wins by default. Now let's go ahead and take a look at those championship matches. It looks like Maddie Marsh is on the top of the bracket, and she is on the same... No, she is over there isolated by herself. On the bottom half of the bracket, then, is Troutner, who's undefeated, and she would wrestle Ava Allen in the semifinals. So 2 and 3 on the opposite side of number 1.
At 145 pounds, my winner was... Camacho. Camacho from Greenfield Central. She I don't know if this is the right term, but she manhandled people. She just physically was working people over. Camacho is ranked 6th in the state from Greenfield Central, and she took on Franklin Community. I think they weren't at mine. They were farther south, I think. But
I think they were down there at that southern one.
Yeah, Camacho. She ended up beat a girl from East Central. I thought that girl from East Central, Prater, was tough as well, and those girls are ranked in the top 10.
Well, I hadn't seen a lot of these girls yet this year because I hadn't been to, other than one tournament, a girls' tournament this year, but Jade Johnson is a name that I didn't know anything about. She's an undefeated freshman from Western, and she walks through this bracket. She had a really nice match against Haley Coons from Northmont. She wins that in the semifinals, and she gets the fall in the finals. And, looking at the state rankings, they have her ranked as number 2, but the name to know, of course, there is Alexandra Bostic.
Yeah, she's a beast.
I don't remember. We'd have to go back. I don't know if her profile has it, how many losses she has, but she's a 2-time state champ, about to become a 3-time state champ, looking for, she's undefeated. Oh, she had 9 losses as a freshman and a sophomore and still won state?
Yeah. She's 39-0 right now. But I tell you what, she's another one of those people, just physically outpowers people. At 155, my champion was...
Did the weight classes, did you have to think about them anymore? You got them down now?
I just looked on a bracket. So
I don't have to think about them anymore. I spent enough time there on Friday to know. Now, 155 is a weight class that we could spend the entire show talking about, I feel like. The storyline on my side of things is that Ella Gall was the champion. No one was going to touch her. Of course, she was a state champ 2 years ago. Last year lost in the semifinals. She beat Olivia Bodie easily. And Bodie's a returning state placer. We talked to Bodie, and she gave all the props she could to Gall. I talked to Ella. She was there with the boys' team yesterday at Adams Central. And the contrast between conversation with her, mat side, and her putting her toe on the line and wrestling is just immense to me. I don't understand how these are the same people, but she's one mean girl when she steps on the mat, and she's the sweetest girl off the mat.
Well, my champion was the number 2 ranked wrestler in the state, in Evelyn Mosconi. She gets a major decision, 8-0 over Harpold, and I thought Harpold wrestled solid all day long, and she is from Greenfield Central. She's 21-2 or 21-3 right now, and Harpold, she is ranked 7th, and Evelyn Mosconi is ranked 2nd. And I tell you what, both of those girls were very, very athletic, very stout build, and just really manhandled people.
Now, on the state bracket, Ella Gall is opposite both Turtle from Garrett and Mosconi. So it'll be Mosconi and Trineri potentially in the semifinals, opposite of Gall based on what we've seen so far. Don't forget about Maylee Skinner from Madison. She is undefeated. Another name out there that I was really impressed with, that was Rosie Travioli. Coach Ron Statler.
That's my favorite Italian dish.
Rosie Travioli?
Ravioli, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Do you know Coach Statler from South Vermilion?
I do not.
Okay. He, a longtime coach. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I didn't know much about their girls program, but this young lady was very, very impressive, very humble, a very good sport. She had a lot of support there from family and from Coach Statler, and I could just tell this coach has been around a long time, really took a lot of pride in the fact that he had brought this girl into the state finals.
I was surprised that there was as many people down there talked about the High School Wrestling Weekly, because they know that we are covering girls wrestling, and they tune in. A lot more of them tune in than you think. But at 170, I had the champion who is working to become a 4-timer in Mallory Winter. She wrestles her first match, and she has a 43-second fall. She has, 28-second fall. She has a 19-second fall. She has a 1:38 fall. And in the finals, she wrestled a young lady named Kawali from Perry Meridian. And Kawali could have been a twin sister to Heaven Gardner. Built exactly the same, strong, super athletic, technique-wise, not where you want it to be. And I talked to Mallory and her dad before the match, and they had it all planned out. And they said, all she wants to do is hang onto your head and try to hit a slide by. So Mallory just wrestled really smart. They do nothing on their feet. First period, she just messed Mallory's hair up. Mallory takes down, gets her escape, gets out. Third period, Kawali takes neutral. They dance around for a minute, and Mallory Winter wins the match 1-0. People think, wow, another close match. The match wasn't close at all.
Well, I thought maybe the bout of the tournament on Friday at Rochester was the semifinal at 170 between Heaven Gardner and Clara Gramlin. Gardner jumped out to a lead, and it looked like I was ready to – I think the 3 New Haven girls were wrestling in the semifinals on 3 different mats at the same time up there at the upper weights. But then all of a sudden, Clara Gramlin comes out of nowhere and just starts taking it to Gardner, starts coming back. She had a reversal. at the buzzer. It was a split-second decision. It didn't go her way. Gardner held on. You look at the replay, maybe it's a half second this way or a half second this way. But the emotion from Grambling at losing, what I took away from it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is she really wanted that win. I mean, there's just so much on the line for these girls. I don't know if you see that kind of emotion on the boys' side of things, even in the state tournament with the ticket round.
So where'd Pepler from Rochester fall into that mix?
Pepler ended up coming back then, and I think Grambling spent a little bit too much emotion in the loss to Gardner, because Grambling comes back and takes fourth. Pepler gets third. So, Pepler's ranked third in the state. She ends up getting third because Atkins from Tipton, Emerson Atkins, just a sophomore, she takes out Pepler by fall in the semifinals.
When you're down on the mat and you're talking to boys wrestlers and they're talking, they're kind of nonchalant about their moves. When you talk to Mallory Winter, she is just so calm, collective, knows exactly what she's going to do. That's why I'll put my money down. She's going to be a 4-time state champ. Don't want to jinx her or anything, but I tell you, she is just that methodical in the way she handles preparation for matches. I tell you what, nobody in the state wants to go down in the bottom underneath her, because she is a pinning machine. They run that, and it's no secret, and everybody's taking after them. They run that double wrist roll. They jack that arm up and put it on their waist, and they run around, and they're pinning people right and left with it. And I tell you what, it's fun to watch. And when they're wrestling somebody and they look in the corner and they say, we're not going down underneath Jay County wrestlers, because they will pin the lights out of you.
Well, Gardner bounced back from that dramatic semifinal win over Grambling and just subtly, casually scores a 15-0 tech fall at the buzzer of the first period in the finals. She walked right up to us in the interview loft and gave a great interview. I asked her about Mallory. I asked her about getting ready. She's not worried about anybody else. She's not worried about Mallory. She knows how good Mallory is. She's focused on getting better this week. And I thought that the New Haven coaching staff is doing such a great job at getting those girls prepared for what it's like to be under that kind of stress. There's going to be a whole lot more pressure on those girls this next week, but Gardner and Winter, if that's the way that it comes out in the brackets, is going to be a great one. Looking at the brackets, Winter and Pepler would meet in the second round. Gardner's on the opposite side. She'd meet Paisley Chambers in the second round potentially. And, that would be a fun final. Let's send it back to the studio for one last break, and when we get back, we'll discuss 190 and 235 and wrap up our show.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home is honored to serve the community we love and live in. Locally owned and operated by Ryan Hershey and Eric Zelt, we understand that each family we serve and each life lived tells a unique story. Our goal is to offer comfort, care, and dignity to all who entrust their loved ones to our care. We are proud to call Adams County our home and look forward to serving you for generations to come.
Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill for our final segment on the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly. As we're walking our way through the brackets, we've made our way to a 190 pounds. And at 190 pounds at the Alexandria Regional, my winner was Hollins. She's hyphenated name. Where's she go here? It is Hollins Rowie from Warren Central. Very, very strong, athletic young lady. She wins in 3 falls in a row and 4 falls. She pins her opponent in the finals in a minute 20. And the runner-up there was Gray from Triton Central, Zoe Gray. A couple of pretty good athletes, but she is not listed in the top. Where's she at there? No, she's not listed. Oh, there she is. Hollins Rowie from Warren Central is ranked 4th.
Now, the first thing that I did, actually, and because I knew that this was a potential disaster for Michaela Clifford, the first bracket that I looked at when they came out was the 190 bracket. She is a returning 3-time medalist who lost a match that she would probably really like to have back in the semifinals to Conklin from West Lafayette Harrison. She doesn't get the death draw that I thought she might get, so I do think Michaela Clifford has a chance to become a 4-time medalist for Columbia City. She'll take on Grace Marshall from Tri-West. She's ranked 8th,
yeah.
so it's not a great draw, but definitely better than what it could have been looking at the others. My champ was Trista Powers from Terre Haute South. She wasn't really challenged, if I remember right. Powers fall. Yeah, 4 first-period falls for Trista Powers. She has just 1 loss on the year, and I think that was up maybe at 235, to be honest with you. So your number 1 ranked wrestler is Monica McMahon from Columbus East, and she is on the same half as Powers.
No, I thought they had an Attica girl ranked number 1.
No, that's at 235.
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I went to 235 already to look at the Aubrey
Bartowiak.
Yeah, she got 1 loss to Cobble, who's ranked 3rd behind her, but they've traded. She's beat her twice. She's beat Cobble twice, and she's beat her once. So she's 2-1 against her.
Well, if there's somebody out there who can beat Aubrey Bartowiak, I would like to meet her, because listen to these pin times, Rex, in the bracket. Aubrey Bartowiak won in the first round in 22 seconds. She won the second round in 36 seconds. In the semifinals, she pinned McGee from New Haven in 11 seconds. And in the finals, she went 16 seconds against the number 2 wrestler in the state.
So my champion was Rachel Adolphi, who is ranked number 4 in the state. And here's her pin times. She wins in 14 seconds, 12 seconds, a minute 19, and wins by medical forfeit over Dubbard in the finals. And let's see if Dubbard's ranked 8th from Lawrence Central. But she walked through that finals.
Yeah, and McGee from New Haven, honestly, as a freshman wrestling 235, she showed some real athleticism. Those coaches, I know we're always talking them up, but they have done such a good job with her. I was really, really impressed at what I saw from her. And, the loss to Bartowiak, you can chalk that one up. The only losses that she suffered were to the number 1 and number 2 girl in the state.
Well, Adolphi has 1 loss, and it's to Bartowiak. She's 30-1. Now, Indiana Matinee rankings show her as a sophomore, but the bracket from Saturday shows her as a freshman.
Huh. Now, Bartowiak is on the bottom quarter of the bracket. She's on the same side as Adolphi, and Adolphi actually wrestles McGee from New Haven in the first round. East Noble also had a 235-pounder make it to state, Kaylin Graves, so we'll cover her match against Brooklyn Neese of Madison. Those are all on the bottom half of the bracket. On the top half of the bracket, Aaron Cobble, who's ranked number 3, is there. Humphreys, number 2, is there as well. So we'll have all of that action for you on Friday throughout the day. And
pull out your little black book. What do we got this week, Dane? I know I've got old school wrestling at Belmont Junior. I can call it the Belmont Junior High. It used to be Belmont Junior High. Now it's the Annex. We're on Thursday night. I have Yorktown.
Tomorrow night we've got the basketball coaches show, Purdue Basketball Live, and I think they took a note out of our playbook. I'm just going to brag a little bit because they
think the Purdue basketball coaches did.
Yeah, I think
they listened to our show.
I think they listened to our show, and they decided that nobody wants to hear Matt Painter talk for an hour about the 2 games that they have to play, and they've now split that show up, half an hour about the boys' team, the men's team, and half an hour about the women's team.
Yeah, they're just copycats.
I think they're just copycats. On Tuesday, we'll have the ACAC basketball tournament. Mike Mackey, Luke Koenig will be down at the Raider Dome. When was the last time you went to the Raider Dome?
I've never been in a Raider Dome.
Really?
I have never been in a Raider Dome.
Huh, interesting. Well, we'll have Adams Central at Southern Wells and girls basketball and then boys basketball. That's a doubleheader on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, Purdue is playing in Seattle at Washington. That's a
Tuesday when we were talking about possibly doing that Norwell girls game?
No, that's Saturday. That's Saturday.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself.
On Wednesday, Purdue will be...
I don't have access to your black book.
in Seattle as Purdue takes on Washington. Then on Thursday, Josh and I are going to Delta, to Nat Woodland, and we're going to bring you the Adams Central Delta dual meet. Should be a doozy.
The Woodster showed up. The Woodster came and saw me at
good deal.
At Jay County.
And then on Thursday as well, Josh and I will be on YouTube. You will have the throwback night when Belmont wrestles Yorktown there at 3rd and Jefferson Street in Decatur.
Yeah, that'll be a good match. Yorktown, not as stud-loaded as they were last year, I think. They got handled by a couple of teams, and I don't know how they match up with Belmont. Belmont, if they can get Mills in that lineup at 13, they're a lot different team down low because it gives them some options because Ethan Curtis has been at 25 part of the year, and going to 20, Curtis looked good at 20. Mills looked really good at 13, and it gives them some options there.
Well, and as a dual meet team, think about some of the duels that they wrestled this year. If they would have had Will Franzi at 38 and the ability to flip-flop those guys, how many times did Belmont bump Farote up? I think twice this year. They bumped Farote up, and then they just forfeited 38 because they didn't have anybody else there. Literally,
Franzi looked really good on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where those two go in the long term with the state tournament. On Friday, we'll have the double semifinal then on the ACAC tourney. That's dependent on who wins and where those games are. Those will be on the air on Friday, and we will be on YouTube the entire day. Some of our matches will be on 92.7, but then on Saturday we'll have the basketball coaches show and then an ACAC final and probably Belmont and Norwell and girls basketball.
That'll be on YouTube, right?
That'll be on YouTube.
Maybe Matt and I.
Unless there's no ACAC final to cover. Unless Woodland's playing Southern Wells, then we won't have it.
Okay. So I'll just plan on being open for Saturday night.
You just plan on being open every night of the week in case I find something for you to do.
If it's basketball, I'm not... Tuesdays and Thursdays, I get called to do some babysitting duties on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But with that, I'd like to thank Steve Rouse for running the board for us back to the studio. The job that Dana and I had to do all day Friday and Saturday, running commercials. But I'd like to thank all of our sponsors that allow us to come talk about wrestling on the radio. And I hope all the girls enjoyed all the attention we gave them for this tournament upcoming. My guest that was supposed to be on the air tonight, Alara Boyd, former Yorktown Yorkie, was supposed to call in, but they had a big tournament. She's now coaching up at North Central Illinois Women's College wrestling team, and she is going to meet up with us at the girls' state finals and come in for an interview. She's promised. She's wrestled at the world level as well as in the senior division, and the last time we saw her, she was whooping up on boys for Yorktown in the team state that was held at the Memorial Coliseum. So with that, we're signing off and tune in next week for another episode of the High School Wrestling Weekly here on WZBD.